Harvard plagiarist Claudine Gay, also known as the president, this woman here, they say it's definitely plagiarism. The academics reviewing her work say that she copied entire paragraphs from others. And now she leads Harvard, the university where there's a bunch of apparently geniuses who are governing us and doing a terrible job at it. Says Harvard University president Claudine Gay plagiarized numerous academics over the course of her academic career, at times airlifting entire paragraphs and claiming them as her own work. This is according to several scholars, probably racists too. In 4 papers published between 1993 and 2017, 4 of them, including her doctoral dissertation, Gay, a political scientist, paraphrased or quoted nearly 20 authors, including 2 of her colleagues in Harvard University's Department of Government, stealing from her colleagues without proper attribution. Now that's according to the Washington Free Beacon analysis. And we've got some very interesting graphics here where you can see the compare and contrast between these 2 items. You can see literally what it looks like. We'll get there. It says other examples of possible plagiarism, all from Gay's dissertation, were publicized on Sunday thanks to Christopher Rufo and Carl Stack's Chris Brunette. But then these guys dug in further, and the Free Beacon worked with nearly a dozen scholars to analyze 29 potential cases of plagiarism. Most of them said that Gay had violated a core principle of academic integrity and also violated Harvard's own anti-plagiarism policies. Now, we're going to have Harvard responding to this, right? They actually released a statement, and guess who they're sticking with? They tell us that scholars are expected to cite the sources of their work, obviously, otherwise it's cheating, including when paraphrasing, and to use quotation marks when quoting directly from others. But in at least 10 instances, Harvard's Gay lifted full sentences, even entire paragraphs, with just a word or 2 tweaked. Man, and imagine when AI gets their hand on this and they can see everything is lifted. In her 1997 thesis, for example, there wasn't plagiarism checkers back then. She borrowed a full paragraph from a paper by other scholars called Bradley Palmquist, then a political science professor at Harvard, and Stephen Voss, one of Gay's classmates in her PhD program at Harvard, while only making a couple alterations, including changing their, quote, decrease to increase because she was studying a different set of data. That's really nice. Here's what it looks like. So the original filing is, quote, the average turnout rate seems to decrease linearly as African Americans become a larger part of the population. She says the average turnout rate seems to increase linearly as African Americans become a larger part of the population. Her line, lifted verbatim, is this is one sign that the data contain little aggregation bias, copied verbatim. If racial turnout rates change depending upon the precinct's racial mix, which is, she's changed one way to think about, they wrote, which is one description of bias, and she picks it right back up. A linear form would be unlikely in a simple scatter plot. Says a linear form would only result, and man, she just added a paragraph, added a period, new sentence, and says changes in one's race turnout compensated for changes across. It's lifted verbatim. She just stole it. Now the 4 papers that included, and she's Harvard. Man, we make fun of all these copy pasters all the time, okay? We do. All the journalists, all the Harvard grads, all these people who think they're so smart and sophisticated. And she's literally just stealing from other people. The 4 papers that include plagiarized material comprise a sizable portion of her academic work. Gay, who's Harvard's 30th president, has authored just 11 peer-reviewed articles. Now, somebody else, this guy, Peter Wood, probably going to be labeled a racist and a bigot now, says, you know, if this were a standalone instance, it would be reprehensible, right? But perhaps excused as a blunder of someone working hastily, a former associate of Boston University said. Now, he helped investigate several cases of plagiarism. But he said, but that excuse vanishes as the examples multiply, said Wood, who now serves as the director of National Association of Scholars. It's offensive to scholarship, right? How dare you do that? Now, some of the most clear-cut cases of Gay's plagiarism come from her 1997 dissertation. She wrote this one, quote, Taking Charge, Black Electoral Success and the Redefinition of American Politics, which copied 2 paragraphs almost verbatim from Palmquist and Voss. The paragraphs from a paper from Palmquist and Voss had presented a year earlier in 1996, she just took it from the year before, do not appear in quotation marks. One is unmodified but for a handful of words, and Gay does not cite Palmquist or Voss anywhere in her dissertation. Man, and that's bold too. It's like, what if these guys turned their paper in to the same professor the year before or something, you know? Were these her classmates? It's kind of, you got to go outside your pool. She's just like, well, nobody will catch me. So this guy says, look, look, this is definitely plagiarism, said Lee Jussum. He's a social psychologist at Rutgers who reviewed 10 side-by-side comparisons that the Free Beacon gave to him. They said, can you identify this? Including paragraphs from her dissertation, which received a prize for Harvard for exceptional merit. It's all fake. It's all fake, man. It's just a big self-inflating, just, you know what it is. Now, the longer passages are the most egregious. Academics say the pattern raises serious questions about her scholarly integrity and her fitness to lead the nation's oldest university. Donors, alumni, congressmen have called on her to resign, but they're not going to be doing it. Now, Harvard didn't respond to a request for comment on this one, but we have their response now. This is what David Coven wrote. You see the exact paragraph is copied there. Now, she said this said original, these were formed in work areas, villages, prisons, candomblé and Ubanda temples, samba schools, AFOXs, churches, and favelas, right? She's like, look at those words even, like candomblé and Ubanda temples and samba schools, like literally copied them in the same sequence as well from the same thing, right? It's absolutely, it's embarrassing. It's actually quite shocking that she's living such a fake past. Wild. So you see here's another example. This guy, Orr, Fines, Jacob, Beecroft, Sambun, Matsu, Kotz, Liebman, and Kling. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people worked on this. She just ripped the whole thing off. Took 8 people to assemble this research, and she says, no, Claudine Gay did it. I did it. Thanks. Claudine Gay, I got it covered. Here's another one, right? And she's, you know, that one's like a little bit less, but obviously that's there. Here is what you see. She says, we construct a county level measure that captures the incentives developers have to rehabilitate affordable housing. Boom, same thing. She has the word financial to it. So it's not really looking good for her academic integrity. But what does Harvard say about it? Well, they released a statement. They said that we unanimously stand in support of Claudine Gay. It gets, how dare you be such a xenophobe? Here is what they wrote. Dear members of the Harvard community, as members of the Harvard Corporation, we today reaffirm our support for President Gay's continued leadership of Harvard. Apparently, she embodies their values there. Our extensive deliberations affirm our confidence that President Gay is the right leader to help our community heal and address the very serious societal issues we are facing. Now, I think they have been causing the damage to themselves, essentially. I mean, Claudine not only is a plagiarist, as we have just uncovered, but also is not that bright when it comes to answering very simple questions about genocide and whether that's appropriate for college kids, right, on a college campus. Pretty obvious there. So kind of like your own goal, you know, when you kind of score on yourself there when you're playing foosball and you lose the game. Now, so many people have suffered tremendous damage and pain because of Hamas, okay, and their terrorist attack. And the university's initial statement should have been an immediate, direct, and unequivocal condemnation. Calls for genocide are despicable and contrary to fundamental human values. And President Gay has apologized for how she handled her congressional testimony and has committed to redoubling the university's fight against anti-Semitism. So somebody had to pull her aside and re-educate her about what they need to do here because people were pulling $100 million out of their donor funds. Now, with regard to President Gay's academic writings, her plagiarism, how are they going to fix this one? The university became aware in late October of allegations regarding 3 articles. So we already knew about this. At President Gay's request, she initiated a review. The fellows promptly initiated an independent review by distinguished political scientists and conducted a review of her published work. And on December 9th, the fellows reviewed the results, which revealed, they say, a few instances of inadequate citation. That's all, just a few instances. Now, while the analysis found no violation of Harvard's standards for research misconduct, Gay is proactively requesting 4 corrections in 2 articles to insert citations and quotation marks that were omitted, oops, from the original publications. She probably just saved the wrong draft or something. Now, in this tumultuous and difficult time, we unanimously stand in support of President Gay. At Harvard, we champion open discourse and academic freedom. No, you don't. You guys got ranked the worst in the country for open discourse and free speech. It's like 90% left. I think it's 98% left. And we are united in our strong belief that calls for violence against our students and disruptions of the classroom experience will not be tolerated. Well, now they figured that out. Harvard's mission is to advancing knowledge, research, and discovery. And with the help, we will address deep societal issues and promote constructive discourse. And we're confident that President Gay will lead Harvard forward toward accomplishing this vital work. Sincerely, Harvard. Wow. All right. So I guess that's where they're staying here. And we'll be curious to see if there's reaction to this. We know that Harvard has had a difficult time coming up with their preferred narrative around this issue. Now that they have a plagiarist who is stealing somebody else's words, don't think what you actually believe. Here, just copy and paste this word and just put that here, and we'll just move these around. We'll see if they can bootstrap it together, but about what you'd expect from Harvard.